Evening. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Hi, Billy. How you doing? Give people a minute to come on. David Friedenberg, what's up? We got people coming in. Rumble Seat, how are you, sir? Eric Etrick says you're pushing my bedtime. I know. We had a lot of stuff going on. I said let's go live. We were still at the restaurant having dinner. I've been running all day. All right, so we got a bunch of people coming on. So I want to. So I have something a little different planned for this evening. Today is March 28th, 2023, and today is the 20th anniversary of my grandfather passing. And it struck me this morning. I thought about it the other day. I'm not a big anniversary of passing kind of person, I guess. But it struck me this morning that it's been 20 years. And that was, it's melancholy. But here's the thing. So, like this morning, so the last month, I'm going to tell you right now, the last month I have been sitting at my desk here, which is not really a desk. It's actually, the kitchen table. Whoa. Working on Walleye Fest. So today, I was thinking about Gramp, and it's been 20 years, and boy, the sun shined right from the morning today, right from sunrise. It was a beautiful day, and I've been putting it off. And last Friday was my birthday, and I thought about putting the boat in, and then Saturday was just a whirlwind of winter weather, and Sunday, and then this week it's been nice again, So it struck me today when I think about my grandpa. You guys hear me talk about him all the time, but I didn't want to sit around and be sad about it. Once I realized it and thought about it, I didn't want that at all. And so I said to myself, all right, get dressed, get away from the computer. Walleye Fest stuff is going to have to wait for the afternoon. Go out in the garage, get the batteries put back in the boat, uncover it. It's in the driveway, and go put it in the water. And then when I started thinking about those kind of things, it made me think, Christ sakes, it's Gramps' boat, So what a fitting tribute to him. And I go, and I'm already thinking about him. We'd go put the boat in the water and start the season off right, And so, but that got me thinking today, I'd do anything to, he had a whole group. I'm going to show you I've got some stuff of his here. Okay. And I'm going to walk you through it. And it's some of his stuff, and it gives me a chance to talk a little bit about him and brag a little bit about him. And he was so important to me, and what I thought today, I think with this, with the YouTube channel, like my Gramp would have been, and is, I'm sure, but would have been right there. I mean, he would have been my cameraman automatically, because he had a fascination. He had a 35. He had multiple 35 millimeter cameras with different lenses and stuff on it, and he had one of the original VHS, camcorders that came out, the big ones that used to sit on your shoulder, and he loved photography and that kind of stuff. And so, like, doing what I'm doing now, he would have been right there with me every step of the way. And I believe he still is, but I meant truly physically alive doing it. And that is one thing that every day that I film, every day that I get to go out fishing, I got to see if I can turn this around. Okay, I can. You guys are going to laugh at me. I like it better when the camera's in the lower right-hand corner, because then I'm used to talking to you like this. The camera's over here and I'm looking this way. Yeah, my Gramp would have been right here in the thick of all of this stuff, and just loving it. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to share him tonight with you guys. I hope it's okay. I'm going to share some of his stuff that I still have. The first thing I'll show you, and this is a very prized possession of mine, and it's the only rod of his I have left. I don't know if I've ever taped this out. It is 7 foot in a couple. And this is an old fiberglass herder's rod that Gramp would have got from the herder's mail order catalog. And I've heard the story of this rod many times. This was probably somewhere in the 60s, and he made this rod. He set up his own. I still have it, actually. He wrapped this. He told me he bought the blank and the reel seat, and the handle, and then he built it all himself. And this, when I was a kid, had a Mitchell 300 on it. I have the Mitchell that was on here originally in Gramp's tackle box out there. This Abu Garcia Cardinal was something I had bought him. Oh God, when I was in high school, so in the 80s somewhere, early 80s. This rod, I do still use it once in a while. I have it set up with a slip float on it. When I'm out slip floating walleyes on a Nida, because it's a solid fiberglass rod. It does have a full bend all the way down through, and in today's terminology, it would be a medium light, or even an ultralight, but it's got a great full bend on it, and I'll still fish it off the dock once in a while with a lure on it. And some of the ones I'll show you. Let's see who's here, and let's do our roll call. Wow, a lot of people here tonight. I love it, man. I love you guys, and I'm blessed that you guys all come and join me every night. Bill Morey, Dave Friedenberg, Rumble Seat Bob, Eric Etrix, Dennis Hook and Eyes, Merlin Johnson. What's up, Wiz? Brian Ham, and even and my brother. I've been trying to hook up with Brian now for 4 or 5 days, but I just haven't had time. Dennis, what's up? Anything is possible. Hey, nice seeing you again. I'm getting ready for bed. What's going on? I know. Midnight Express, Don Birdie, Scott Duranda, Vinny Shepard. What's up, buddy? Oh my God, Bob Rumbleseed is a genius. So Bob said last night you asked what to call the black and silver version of Homie the Clown. How about the Lone Ranger, black mask and horse named Silver? Wow, that is outstanding. You just named, yeah, yeah. And why did I ask that though?
Because you had Homie for black and gold.
Yeah, but do I have a black and silver one? I don't know. I know a guy. I'm sure we can get some black and silvers made up. And the Lone Ranger. I love that already. Was there a color associated with the Lone Ranger? Did he have a red scarf or a colored scarf or something? That was a tiny bit before my time. I've certainly seen reruns, but not a ton. So what color could I add to that black and silver? I love that idea, Bob. I love that idea. Keith Horns, what's up, buddy? Eric Wisniewski, what's up, Wiz? Michael Hoover, John Burroughs. John's got to turn off General Hospital. Scott DeGata, Brad Fitzgerald. Merlin Johnson says, perfect day to put the boat back in the water. Yes, sir, it is. Jeff Brown, hello, everyone. Ned Sellers, Tammy Hoover. Merlin said you should have taken her for a ride in memoriam. I did. I went up the river, and once I got past my house, you can open it up. There's no houses. And boy, she came right up on plane, fast, no skip, no fouled plugs, no nothing. And boom, off she went, boom, right away. So my buddy Captain Todd Shelter's coming down in the morning, and we're gonna go fish. I love saying that. Tomorrow morning's report will be a report again from a night of lake. Mike Urema, glad you got the boat floating. I'm still stuck in the basement tying jigs. Yeah, yep. Tori Pfeiffer, what's going on, buddy? Can Fred borrow that rod? No. Nope. Typically fishing. Good evening. Bill Morey, I love Rumbleseat's suggestion of the Lone Ranger. I love that. That is spot on.
Yeah, and Bill Morey, the pierogies were awesome.
Oh God, yeah. And Bill, Courtney reminded me too. Bill and his wife brought me over pierogies from Eva's in Salve the other night for my birthday, and drove all the way over here from Salve, and he lives in Salve, and then turned around and drove all the way back. Boy, thank you. They were delicious. As soon as we shut the door, we grabbed the fork and ate them warm right out of the container. They were delicious. Eva's is the best. I mean, that's the best. Not that I've ever really been out to dinner to many Polish restaurants, but there's really good food there. Yeah, Bill Morey is on to what I'm thinking too. Red scarf sounds about right. Red jewel eyes, or listen, he's going to be like Homie. I think I'll dress him just like Homie, except it'll be silver tape instead of gold. Man, I like that pattern already. I haven't even fished it. I don't even know if it exists yet. Okay, Jim G, what's going on? Tim Graver. Good evening, Matt. Nice to see you out with the boat. Yes, thank you. But Rumbleseed says, yes, Lone Ranger had a red scarf. That's a good memory you have there. Well, a little foggy. Mark Webb, what's going on, buddy? Ned Sellers, wasn't the Lone Ranger black and white? His horse was silver, but it was all black and white on my TV. And his horse was named Silver. Yeah. Yeah.
He had a black mask with a red scarf.
A black mask with a red scarf. There you go. And he had a blue shirt, right? Was that blue shirt all the time? I got an idea. I know how we're going to dress him. So here we go. I got you guys on the camera right now. Or I got you guys on my phone right at the moment. So let's keep going. If you guys are going to indulge me and you're okay with it, I'm going to tell a few stories. And I want to show you some other cool tackle I got here. That is my Gramp right there. He was 17 years old in this picture. He graduated high school a year early. He was the class of 1939 in Split Rock High School in Camillus, New York. There were 23 people in his graduating class in 1939. Pretty crazy, huh? So, okay, this is one of my favorites. I have this, you'll see tape all over it. I have had this taped in my garage. So this is my Gramp, and that's my great uncle Phil right there. And that is one night over in Oswego. And you can see the size of these two walleyes that night and that big brown trout. Now, I mean, as you can see, so this is going back to probably, I would say, the late 90s. They were both old farts back then. It would be like 2 rumble seats in your boat, you know? And I'll never forget this particular night because we were in my drift boat and I was rowing, and we just went out through the cut on the east wall, and I could hear the middle rod creaking in the dark. Now, you're going to say, what are you talking about? You could hear it. You could hear the line cinch up, you know, and I said to my Gramp, now my uncle right here, even back in those days, he only had one good eye. He shot out one of his 2 good eyes when he was a kid on the farm, when the bolt on the Marlin 22 he was shooting came out, let loose, and took his eye. So he had one eye and was half deaf and had hearing aids that he never wore. And so, you know, like the scene in Christmas Vacation, he could have drove a dump truck through a nitroglycerin plant and he wouldn't have heard it. Or seen it, right. So I'm telling my Gramp, who I know can hear me, that there's a fish on the middle rod. He goes, well, how do you know? And then my Uncle Phil goes, what are you talking about? And I'm just sitting there in the dark, and I'm still rowing because the fish is still on. And the 2 of them now, my Gramp then has to go to explain to my Uncle Phil at like volume 9 so he can hear it, that I said that I thought there was a fish on the middle rod. And so then Phil looks at my Gramp and goes, well, is there? Now, neither of them have touched the rod yet. And I want to say I think it was that one right there. That was the bigger of the 2, believe it or not. And it just was like a comedy of errors. It was just hilarious. And so this is one of my most prized pictures. It's been taped up in my garage, in my fishing corner, you know, for 16 years since I've lived here. That's a special picture. This one is my grandparents. And that's Bill, and that's Gene. You want to hear a funny story? My middle name is Bill William, after my grandfather. And Courtney's middle name is Jean, after her grandmother.
No.
Godmother. Great aunt. So my middle name's Bill, her middle name's Jean. My grandparents' names were Bill and Jean. This is up to their place where they retired to up in Cape Vincent. They're facing the river, and the back is 12E right there, just outside of Cape Vincent.
And weren't they married? Wasn't there another, like a familiar date or something? Weren't they married on my late husband's birthday?
June
or
3rd.
something?
Yeah. Yeah. My grandparents' wedding anniversary is Courtney's late husband's birthday. Years later, but still. Another picture. So that's my Gramps' varsity basketball team his senior year. And he's this guy in the middle, like taller than his coach. And Etrick says his grandparents are Bill and Jane.
Ah,
Holy shit. Eric, their last name wouldn't be Mandigo, would it? I'll shit if it is. I thought that was a cool picture. Here's another good one. So that's a spring fishing trip. Sunset Trailer Park was where they lived up in Cape Vincent. I forget what it's called now. It changed owners years ago. It's the Bono brothers now. It's just outside of Cape Vincent, a mile and a half. So Grandpa and I were fishing out in Lake Ontario. We took the boat and drove out through the St. Lawrence into Lake Ontario, and we were trolling over by buoy 245. And those are two walleyes. That's a lake trout right there that we got that same day. And there's no date on this picture, but that's got to be going back to before I was in the Army. So that was, 1990 or earlier. I graduated in 89. So they've been catching monster walleyes up in the St. Lawrence for years, because that fish right there is 27, 28 inches. I mean, it's got to be 7.5 pounds at least. Yeah, here's a great shot. You guys will like this. So there's my boat. That's Gramps' boat right there. This is, of course, now that you guys know it, it's gray and it's white on top and a black bottom. So it used to be all white with a blue canvas top. This is so my Gramp retired from Carrier here in Syracuse, and he had a whole group of his buddies every year for Father's Day weekend, which was the opening weekend of bass season. They all went to one of his buddies had a camp on Grindstone Island, just off of Clayton in the Thousand Islands. So these guys all went up there. There'd be 15, 20 guys in 10, 12 boats, and they all went and partied and fished and drank and ate for that whole weekend. And this has got to be going back to the mid 80s. He bought the boat in 84, so 84, 85, somewhere's right in there. Yep, that's what she used to look like when I first had her.
wait, that's your boat now?
Yeah. Yeah. See the black stripe on the side says cobia.
Wow.
And that went fishing today?
So let's see. Mike Urema says it does in at least 3 choices of silver: halo, scale, aurora, disco ball, and flash. All right. Well, I'll get with you tomorrow, Mike. That's 4, right? I didn't want to say anything. I'm gonna put some of those together. I got a really good idea for the color scheme on that, and we'll do the Lone Ranger. That's awesome. Etrix goes, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." Yeah, somebody should have told my uncle that way back then. So I asked you that, Etrix, Eric, because friends of one of my Gramps' good friends that he worked at Carrier with, his name was Bill Mandigo, and his wife's name was Jane. They were close friends with my grandparents. They were like, they were like Uncle Bill and Aunt Jane to me. It's funny though.
Back at it again.
Let's see. Scott Degata, did you buy your house from your grandparents? I know the Mandigos from Cottonwood Road. Yeah, I think. No, I didn't. This house that we own now wasn't in my family. All right, so now we're going to do a few old lures. And remember yesterday and the last couple of days we were talking about jigs, bucktail jigs, and jig color. We were talking about it last night. So there's one of the old brown ones right there. I found it is. I still have most of his old tackle boxes. There's one of them. So there's the brown one. There's one of the old yellow ones right there. And of course, an old standby black, but short hair, and everything was flattened. That walleye head. Now here's where they start to get a little cooler. So this is an old LNS mirror lure, and it's MIRRO mirror O lure. Now, some of these, this is oxidized over the years pretty badly, but underneath the epoxy, if you were to clean these back up, that mirror, it was a play on words. It was supposed to be like a mirror. Well, that's because it was all either gold leaf or foiled inside the epoxy. And so it really had a shine that nothing else like it did at the time. And of course, now the mirror lure came in different sizes, jointed, straight. My Grant must have been a big fan of jointed because he's got these jointed ones in about 4 or 5 different color schemes, anywhere from that's an 1.5 inch lure all the way up. I've got them to 3.5 inches. Very similar in style and shape and action. This is a Cisco Kid. You see the old hardware on it. Everything was metal hardware, metal hook hangers, metal lip. The cool thing about those lures in these days was you could adjust that lip really to run whatever you wanted, whatever depth you wanted. But that Cisco Kid, it's another one that was deadly back in the day. Then we get into the ones that I like the best out of Gramps' box, and these were always the ones that, these are only a couple of them, and these are some of the ones that never really got fished, I'll tell you. But he had quite the extensive collection of pikey minnows, which is a creek chub product, okay? And so this is the smallest one that he had, and that is a pikey junior. Again, this is a creek chub. So this is original paint, original finish. You can see some of it over the years has chipped and cracked off because the only sign of hook wear is right there on the front of that. And you can see where these hooks had run across it like that. So my guess is like every one of these lures, some of them don't even have any hook rash whatsoever. I don't think they were ever fished. And again, Gramp had quite a number of them. So here's another pattern right there. You can see where the paint has chipped off, but you can also see that there are no hook marks on that lure whatsoever. And he had them in multiple sizes. Here's another one. Now that's got that shallow running bill. And you can see too, it had glass, extruded glass eyes in it. The other side has not fared nearly as well over the years. It's been broken. See it right there? It's been broken. But now this is another lure of his. This was never fished. Never fished. There were no hook rash whatsoever there. Now this is that same pikey minnow, but considerably bigger. And you can see on this one, there are two small lines, one right there and one right there, where that treble hook. See how that comes up in there like that? He had quite a, like I said, he had quite a collection of these, and they were my favorites to throw. They were heavy. You could throw them a country mile, and they were supposed to catch a pike or a muskie up there, and that was that was just a different mindset. And these things were just so cool looking. I just wanted to try one just to see. I don't even remember if I caught anything on any of them. Jim G says, used to go on a trip with my dad and his buddies from the phone company up to the river. They called it the booze cruise. Yeah. Listen, I'm sure those guys had a hell of a time. It's funny. That's not something that a lot of people do anymore. I'm not saying life wasn't hectic for those guys in those days. I'm sure it was, but life can get hectic, and it can get away from you at times. In a sense that you don't take time for yourself, and we're mostly guys. So we think about, going with the guys and like a fishing trip, hunting camp, stuff like that. I think that's very important for people. Women don't quite do the same thing. Their trips are different. Their interests are different, but I don't know. I don't know if women get together socially in a group like that, just a bunch of women, nearly as often as the guys do, because guys can think of any reason to go hang out with their buddies and go do stuff, But I always wanted that, like it was their set group of guys. They had history together. They worked together. They'd been doing this trip for years. I mean, since I was a little kid, and it was a big deal. Like, it was important to them. And I always thought that was really cool that they were that close of friends, that after working, most of them worked together in fairly close quarters, day in and day out. And then they'd still go on vacation together, alone. And then a lot of those, like my grandparents, when they went on vacation in the summertime or something, it always seemed like there was another couple or two that they were going somewhere with. Later on, I mean, when I was young, and obviously if I was there, then their kids were long gone. Certainly different times, Don Terry says, I used to troll mirror lures for walleyes back in the 60s and 70s. Well, Don Terry, then how about you and I do that this summer? If you have any, you bring them, and I'll bring what I've got, and we'll do a show one day just on that. That's you just talked your way right into that. Tammy Hoover, my car keeps looking up at them like it's bugging her. Cat. And then Etrix said, your notifications keep making me damn near jump. What notifications? Am I missing something?
Your phone made a sound earlier.
Oh, sorry. Every time somebody goes on the Walleye Fest website, it gives me a notification. Every time, my phone, we've had to turn it off most days lately because it doesn't stop making noises. Ned Sellers says, my favorite heirloom lure was a white wooden flatfish. I've got some. So, okay. Yeah, Ned, that's a great, see, that's how we make connections. So that flatfish, about yay big, I want to say it was a number 7, wooden, painted in the frog pattern, had a single treble hook on the back of it and the spreader bar with 2 treble hooks on the front of it. And I'll tell you, we used to do a lot of drift fishing in my boat, which is my Gramps boat, on the St. Lawrence, and he would put a small inline bead chain sinker and run a leader of 18 to 24 inches, and he'd have a little snap on it, and then he would put a lure back there. Most of the time, it was that frog pattern wooden flatfish, and those flatfish, they go like that. And boy, those bass would kill them. Jim G says, we have a trip in May every year. This will be my 30th up north, small lake with my brother and brother-in-law and a group of great guys. And now our kids will join us. This will be my kid's 13th year going. Oh man, I think we're going to do something once Walleye Fest is in the books. And I think the next event that I'm going to start looking to doing is some sort of an adult field trip getaway for a day or two, and we'll figure out the details, and I'm open to suggestions. And now with the ability to travel into Canada again normally, I would love to get a group that goes somewhere, and even if we go someplace different every year, I think that would be I'd really like to do that. My heart really tells me that that's something that we're going to do in our yearly schedule of events. George Harrington, the lures and stories brings back great memories of my dad and Gramps. Yeah, George, feel free to share. History is important. History is important. Good history and bad history. Good history is important, and like this. And it's funny. I thought to myself earlier today, I wouldn't know. I remember a few of the names of his buddies. It's been a long time. I don't know if anybody's still alive. My grandpa would be, over 100 years old now. He's been gone 20 years. And I thought today, man, it would be it would make me feel good if there was somebody that was still alive that knew him, and that I could go and see and talk to. My great uncle is still alive. Not really in a condition to talk to, and I have some family that some cousins that, that are older than me that certainly are still alive and know. I don't talk to many of them anymore. And I always thought, I thought today, geez, it'd be nice if I had any way of tracking down any of his friends and see if they're still alive, and just to be able to talk to somebody that knew him. That's a very small pool, as the days goes on. But, like there's another picture right there. So that's 1991. At Syracuse Hancock Airport. I just got home from basic training in AIT, and that's one of the rare. You can see the camera around the cameraman's neck. There's not many pictures of my Gramp because he was always the one taking pictures. so those are those kind of moments. I mean, this is on the deck one Easter after I'd come home from the military. So that's probably 94, 95 at my mom's house in Central Square, and we're just goofing around. You see him. He's got his chest out, and of course his belly went out anyway. You couldn't get around that thing. My gramp had no ass. My gramp's ass was flat like this.
I just want to know what is going on with your
What's what?
your hair.
Oh, my wife's picking on my hair.
I don't remember that haircut being in style.
Yeah, it probably wasn't. I forgot what I was saying though.
He had no ass.
Oh, my grandpa had no ass, but boy, he had a big old belly in the front. So he wore a belt and suspenders because there was nothing back there to hold it up. Like you had to keep it hiked up. And I used to tease the shit out of him. I'd walk up behind him. What are you laughing at?
Chuck.
What?
Chuck is laughing his ass off.
I didn't do it.
I think Chuck's laughing at your hair too.
Oh, shit. All right, I'm trying to read through here. Bill Morey says, reminds me of my hunting camp back when the other guys were still alive and younger. Yeah, same thing. We used to go to my uncle's camp, who was in that picture, my great uncle's camp. My cousin still has it. And matter of fact, my son Danny and I were down there a couple of years ago for opening day. But in those days, there was 15, 20 guys and kids and people that would come in and out of camp that weekend before opener on Monday morning, and hunting camp, fishing camp. Those are memory makers, those are memory makers and days gone by that you just cherish, like nobody's business, Mark Webb, darn website. What's the matter with the website? Our website? Our website's awesome. E-Tricks, the Awakening Angler camping fishing trip. I don't know about the camping party, but I'm all about the fishing trip. I wouldn't mind a nice lodge either. Pool, hot tub, fishing's hard work if you do it all day long. That's why I like to budget my resources and I only fish for a couple hours in the morning. Did I mention I'm going fishing tomorrow morning? On the boat? On another lake? Also, tomorrow morning's morning report will be a report. Yes. Brian Stone, look at that. So Brian Stone says, "Hey Chuck," and he's talking about Chuck Orlando, my buddy, first and foremost, my business partner. Brian Stone says, "Chuck, I met you a couple years ago down to Oneida Shores. You gave me permission to fish off the pier restaurant docks. I haven't had to, but thanks." Well, that doesn't surprise me one bit. How I know my friend Chuck. He's a big-hearted man, that's for sure. Speaking of which, Chuck Orlando says, Walleye Fest is going to be one big, huge family party. Leave the kids at home. The adults are going to have some fun. Wow, Friday night, the kickoff party? Yes. Don Birdie, I'm in. Road trip to fish. Well, and E-Tricks above that says, Isle Royal out in Lake Superior. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos out on Isle Royal. Oh, what a spot. What a spot. Chuck Orlando, your grandfather would be so proud of you. Thank you, man. I know he would be loving this. He would be loving it. He would be right in the middle of this in every way, shape, or form. Because it was two of his favorite things, fishing and photography. Yeah, I'm sure he had plenty to do with Jason Wickeser. I made it. Holy crap, what a long day. Right on, man. And we're getting close on time, and then I'm going to wrap it up here. I love you guys. We got so much great conversation here. Scott Tagata. Look, you do have a chin. Oh, you want it? Okay. Listen, I have no problem making fun of myself. So I'm going to tell you another real quick story about the military and me. So I got a big fat head. You see the size of the freaking hat I wear? My buddies have been picking on me since I was 10 years old, calling me pumpkin head, melon head, and every other kind of big fucking name you can think of. So when Gigi gets home, my daughter Gianna, when she got home from basic training, all the drill sergeants would pick on her and call her Big Head One because she's got a big old basketball head. It's like this too. I mean, she's a girl and she's pretty and she's got a lot of hair, so you don't really notice it, but she's got a big old melon, you know? And so I haven't even shown her this picture yet, but like I say, I tease her now and I still call her Big Head One or Sputnik or whatever, but I have no room to talk or maybe I do because I have a big head, so that's why I tease her. But I'm going to show you guys a picture. So let's see, it's 1991. 1991. So I'm 20 years old, 19 years old. You're going to laugh because I have a stick body and a big giant head, even with a buzz cut. Like that is look at those ears. It looked like Alfred E. Newman right there. I could tune in Tokyo with those ears. And so I laugh because what are you going to do? Now with this thing, you don't see it, so it doesn't matter. Although my wife still tells me that I have a big fat mouth.
I didn't say big fat mouth. I said big mouth. You have a loud voice.
Yeah, like that makes any difference. Jim Wildbrookies, I love your stories. Oh, thank you, man. Stories are easy when they're true and they're from the heart, you know, and Chuck says, I'm laughing along with you about your gramps. The mullet is pretty funny too. Yeah.
I've never seen that picture.
Yeah. That was an Easter Sunday. I'm sure of it. And we must have been going somewhere to have family dinner because this was long before my daughter was born. I mean, I'm just a kid. That was shortly after I got home from the Army. Mark Webb, the beeping. Oh, you're talking about the website? Yeah. Yes. Mark has got us hooked up to every beep that there is. Beeping and flashing. Don Terry says the ice moved back in front of my launch. There's perch from 400 to 500 yards from my place. Can't be much ice in that bay, though. Maybe I'll go over there and check it out tomorrow. Drifting off, Beaker. I'm with you, Wiz. I'm gonna call it a day. Rumpelsey, that what an ass.
What did you say?
He's getting me back for calling him old. Rumbleseed says that hat could net a king salmon. I told you it's huge. I got a big bucket. I know, Jughead. Yeah, I listen. No, you guys couldn't call me a name that my buddies haven't called me my whole life. Cat Sellers says, other than the beard, you look like your grandpa. Thank you. That's a compliment. And he would have hated the beard. He would have picked on me about it and would have said stuff, and he would have so this is what he would have done. We'd be sitting in the boat fishing or something, and he'd say something like this. He'd be like, how are you doing? Is everything okay? You know, like, do you need anything? And he would say to me, need any money? I'm like, I don't know how much you got, you know, but he never turned down money. But I said, no, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good, Gramp. Why? He goes, well, I assume you're struggling and you can't afford to buy a razor. There would have been razor jokes forever, you know, which makes me laugh. Always makes me laugh. Oh, Chuck says, thank you for everything, you guys. Courtney and Matt, you're both amazing. Yeah, thank you, man. Dude, listen, you and I are building something that's going to be out of this world. Just one of many, right, buddy? Jason Wickizer says, I wear a 4XL snowmobile helmet.
Gigi has to borrow a man's helmet.
Right. So Courtney just said her daughter Jana has to borrow a man's helmet when she goes on for her Kevlar, for her army helmet, because she got a big old fat head.
She can't help it. Her dad was enormous.
Yeah, right. Her father had a big fat head too. I never even met him. Bobby Young says, Uncle Eric, is that you? Do you mean E-Trix or do you mean Wisniewski? Michelle, Gigi is adorable. Listen, I'm going with Merlin. They don't call him the wizard for nothing. Well, I'm the one that calls him that, but still, he says big brains require room. Hell yeah, you can't stuff 5 pounds of sausage in a 1 pound casing.
Women do it all the time.
Yeah, right. La, la, la. Brian wants to know what time we're going live tomorrow. I don't know. I told Todd not to even show up till 7 because I'm not fully moved back into the boat yet. I haven't put the boats in the water, plugs in it. It starts and runs. I did put the fish finder back in. And I put my tools back in, and I put my box with all my drift bags in it. I don't have no fishing tackle in there whatsoever yet. I did put the net in there. So in the morning, in the dark, I got to run some stuff out there and get everything ready, but no big deal. We'll be fine. Okay. Chuck says she's saying you look old. I know. Bobby Young, you're doing a great job, Matt. Can't wait for Walleye Fest. Yeah, we can't either. And Bobby Young says, so Wiz is Wisniewski. Okay. Oh, that's funny. Put the plug back in. All right. We've been going way too long. Thanks for indulging me tonight. Thanks for letting me talk about my Gramp and show some pictures. And I can honestly say that everybody here he would have gravitated to, and I can honestly say that everybody would have loved him because he was a good, kind man who had the patience of Job and was smart beyond anything I aspire to be half as smart as he was about half the subjects. He was a wonderful man, and it's hard to believe he's been gone 20 years. And boy, I miss him like the Dickens every single day. So thanks, everybody. I love you guys and girls. I love you. I love you. I love you. You know, this is, I look forward to these conversations every single day. And I try to make it the best and most entertaining and, you know, exciting stuff. Courtney started editing again today. We got the Salmon River Fish Hatchery video done. We've got the Cayuga Lake lake trout video in progress. We're gonna have footage, you know, rolling here, and it's gonna feel good to be back out on the boat on our lake tomorrow morning. I can tell you that. I can tell you that much. Good night, all. Good night, all. Good night, all. Dad Lance, Jason Wickerser, Bobby Young. Have a great evening, everybody. Keep your tip up.